which is another kind of inhibitor. Um, and these are used for anxiety disorders as well. Uh, so things like Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, you've heard of all of these, I'm sure. Cymbalta, they've got ads running on television. Um, and they're the main ones that are being used. There's another class of drugs called benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines. They're anti-anxiety drugs that can be highly addictive. So doctors try not to prescribe those now, and try to prescribe these others instead. So, okay, here we go with another statistic now. Between the years of 2005 and 2008, 11% of Americans were taking a prescription antidepressant. In 2010, antidepressants were the second most commonly prescribed medications, just behind the cholesterol-lowering medications. Cost of those is almost 10. Wow, am I reading this right? Yep, $10 billion for these drugs. The rate of antidepressant use across all age groups exploded in the 90s. During that time, or actually before that, in 1988. Between 1988 and 2008, increased nearly 400%. And one study showed medical professionals, other than psychiatrists, wrote 80% of antidepressant prescriptions, often without a specific diagnosis. And then we also have this aggressive marketing that the big drug companies do, and it's going a long way to convincing people that ordinary states of sadness represent imbalances in brain chemistry that antidepressant medications can correct. But a growing body of data suggests that for mild to moderate depression, the drugs are no more effective than placebos. And that's where your self-healing comes in. So, let's talk about the problems with antidepressants. Long-term use of them can intensify depression. This phenomenon is called tardive dysphoria, and that means lingering bad mood. And this results from the body's reaction to the medication. If you keep a patient on a drug that increases serotonin at neural junctions, over time the brain will compensate by producing less serotonin and fewer serotonin receptors, and that makes things worse. Serotonin is the joy chemical, and so that reduces your ability to access joy and pleasure centers. The antidepressants commonly cause sexual difficulties, can interfere with your concentration, and disturb digestion. Other side effects that these drugs can cause are risks of relapse, so going back into depression. It can really have toxic effects on your liver. What else do we got here? It can decrease your bone density. It can cause abnormal bleeding. It can cause strokes, and it can induce suicidal behavior. Several studies have shown that, especially in older people, antidepressants are associated with an increased risk of death from all causes. All causes. And for pregnant women, it can increase the risk of autism in their children, as well as birth defects. So, powerful drugs with some powerful side effects. So taking those is a risk. And you have to then start thinking about, is it worth the risk? Is it doing what it says it's going to do? Dr. Weil in his study, and particularly if you have mild to moderate depression, the severe bouts of depression, well, those are things where you're going to probably need to have some medication. But again, it can be another case of too much medication. So next week we're going to talk more about this. We're going to talk about self-healing ways, states, and we're going to look at some ways in which we can take a different look at our emotional and mental states and mental health in general. So I hope that you will consider coming on back for that next week. And in the meantime, I wish you a healthy, self-healing week.